The courtroom was silent. So silent you could hear the judge's pen scratch against the paper as he prepared to deliver a ruling that many believed was politically motivated. But what happened next left the entire room, and soon the entire nation, in shock. Karoline Leavitt, the rising conservative firebrand, had been pushed too far. The judge had tried to silence her, tried to undermine her fight for justice. But she wasn't going to let that happen. With an icy glare, she rose from her seat, her voice unwavering. "Your Honor," she said, pausing just long enough for the tension to crackle like electricity. "You may think you hold the power in this courtroom, but let me remind you, justice is not dictated by corruption." Gasps echoed through the chamber. The judge's face twisted in a mix of anger and panic. He had underestimated her. And now, it was too late. What Leavitt did next was nothing short of legendary. With the precision of a seasoned warrior, she exposed the judge's connections, laying out a web of deceit, political ties, and questionable rulings that painted a damning picture. Reporters scrambled to take notes. Cameras flashed. The judge's gavel trembled in his grip. And then, the final blow, Leavitt pulled out a document, one that sent shockwaves through the courtroom, a petition signed by thousands, demanding an investigation into the judge's misconduct. The entire room erupted in murmurs. Even the bailiff looked stunned. The judge, once so confident, now looked cornered, knowing his days of unchecked power were numbered. And Karoline Leavitt, she walked out victorious, leaving behind a legacy that no corrupt official would soon forget. Justice had been served, and this was just the beginning. The tension in the courtroom was suffocating. The judge, a longtime liberal activist masquerading in judicial robes, sat high on his bench, smirking as if he had already won. His ruling, many believed, was nothing more than a political hit job, aimed at silencing conservatives and maintaining the status quo. But today, he had underestimated the wrong person, Karoline Leavitt. She had played by the rules, fought the legal battles, and endured the smears from the mainstream media. But now, she was done playing defense. She was ready to fight back. As the judge prepared to deliver his final ruling, Leavitt slowly stood up, locking eyes with him. The entire courtroom turned their attention to her, the way she carried herself, calm, yet radiating unshakable confidence, sent a shiver down the judge's spine. "Your Honor," she began, her voice clear and steady, "before you finalize your ruling, I believe it's important for this courtroom and the American people to hear the full truth." The judge scoffed. "Ms. Leavitt, this is highly inappropriate." But she wasn't finished. "What's inappropriate?" she interrupted. "Is the clear conflict of interest you have in this case, your connections to special interest groups, your cozy relationship with political operatives. Should I go on?" A stunned silence fell over the courtroom. The judge's face twitched with frustration. The mainstream media reporters in attendance fumbled with their cameras, realizing something groundbreaking was unfolding before their eyes. Leavitt reached into her bag and pulled out a thick stack of documents. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced, "I present undeniable evidence that this judge, who claims to uphold fairness and justice, has been anything but impartial." Gasps spread across the room like wildfire. The document detailed shady backroom deals, financial contributions from far-left organizations, and even correspondence proving the judge had been in contact with politicians who wanted to see Leavitt's case buried. The judge's face paled. "This is absurd," he muttered. "This is a baseless attack." But Leavitt wasn't done. She turned to the spectators in the courtroom. "Is it baseless?" she asked, holding up an email showing the judge's direct involvement in suppressing key evidence. "Or is this exactly the kind of corruption that Americans are sick and tired of?" The crowd murmured. The bailiff looked uneasy. Even the prosecutors exchanged nervous glances. And then came the final hammer blow. Leavitt handed a second document to the clerk. "This," she declared, is a formal ethics complaint signed by thousands of Americans demanding an immediate investigation into your conduct. The judge, who had moments ago exuded arrogance, now looked trapped. He fumbled with his gavel, struggling to maintain control. But it was useless. The entire courtroom had turned against him. One by one, people in the audience began to clap. Then, a chant started, "Step down, step down." Security had intervened as the judge stood up, flustered and defeated. Cameras flashed. Capturing the moment, he realized he was finished. Leavitt took a deep breath, soaking in the moment. This wasn't just a victory for her. It was a victory for justice, for transparency, for the everyday Americans who had been ignored for far too long. And as she walked out of the courtroom, surrounded by supporters, she knew this was just the beginning. Fire the corrupt elites had been put on notice. Karoline Leavitt wasn't backing down. And America was watching. The courtroom was already in chaos. The judge, once smug and untouchable, was now red-faced and visibly shaken. But what happened next? No one saw it coming. Just as a chance of step down filled the room, a sudden commotion erupted at the back of the courtroom. A man in a dark suit rushed forward, flashing a badge. The room gasped. "FBI, we have a warrant," the agent announced, his voice cutting through the noise like a blade. The judge's face drained of all color. He tried to maintain composure, but the sweat forming on his forehead betrayed him. The agent handed a folder to the court clerk. Inside, a full federal investigation into the judge's corruption. Karoline Leavitt didn't flinch. She had known this was coming. She had planned for this moment. The agent turned to the judge. "We have evidence of obstruction of justice, wire fraud, and bribery. You're coming with us." A gasp rippled through the gallery. The judge slammed his gavel down. "This is outrageous. I am the law in this courtroom." But the agent didn't hesitate. He signaled to two more federal officers, who stepped forward, their hands hovering near their handcuffs. This was happening. The judge was about to be arrested in front of a full courtroom. And then, just when it seemed things couldn't get any more shocking, Karoline Leavitt stepped forward. "Your Honor," she said, her voice laced with calm authority. "You thought you were untouchable. You thought you could manipulate justice, control the system, and silence those who fought back. But today, America fights back." Boom. The entire courtroom erupted in cheers. Reporters scrambled to capture the moment. The judge, now a broken man, looked around desperately for an escape. But there was none. As the FBI agents finally clicked the handcuffs around his wrists, he muttered under his breath, "This isn't over." Karoline just smiled. "Oh, it's over." As she walked out of the courtroom, she was met by a crowd of supporters waiting outside, waving American flags and chanting her name. The corrupt elite had fallen. Justice had won. And this was just the beginning. Police Scarlight Fire the Swamp just got drained, and Karoline Leavitt led the charge. The courtroom was in absolute chaos. The corrupt judge, the FBI agents, the stunned crowd. No one knew what was coming next. But Karoline Leavitt did. She had planned every second of this takedown. Just as the handcuffs snapped around the judge's wrists, a mysterious voice echoed through the courtroom speakers. "Loudspeaker, you thought you could hide forever, didn't you?" The entire room froze. The voice was deep, distorted. Someone had hacked into the courtroom's audio system. The judge's face turned a sickly shade of white. He knew exactly who it was. Then boom! A massive projector screen dropped down from the ceiling. Security footage began to play, showing grainy black and white clips of the judge inside a lavish, secret underground bunker. And what was inside? Stacks and stacks of cash. The gallery erupted in gasps. Millions of dollars in bribes. Hidden away, Karoline crossed her arms, smiling. "You always said the evidence didn't exist. Your Honor. Well, we found it. The judge started thrashing against the FBI agents, screaming, "This is fake. I demand a recount." But just then, another figure stepped forward from the back of the courtroom. A woman, her face hidden by a black veil. She pulled it back. It was the judge's former law clerk, the one who mysteriously disappeared last year. The crowd gasped. "I was there when he laundered that money," she said, her voice calm but sharp. "He thought I was dead, but I faked my own death to bring him down." Collision boom. The plot twist of the century. The judge's knees buckled. He knew it was over. And just as the FBI agents began dragging him away, his phone buzzed on the evidence table. Karoline picked it up. A single text message was on the screen. "Mobile phone with arrow, you're next. Unknown." Silence. The entire courtroom stood still. Was this bigger than just the judge? Was there someone else pulling the strings? Karoline's eyes narrowed. This wasn't over. This was just the beginning. Karoline stared at the phone screen. "You're next." The entire courtroom was silent, except for the faint sound of the judge whimpering as the FBI dragged him away. But Karoline didn't flinch. She turned the phone over in her hand, her mind racing. Who sent this? Who was pulling the strings behind the judge? Then, loudspeaker busy. The phone vibrated again. A second message appeared. "Mobile phone with arrow, meet me at 11 p.m. The clock is ticking. Attached was a GPS location. Karoline took a deep breath. She knew this was a trap, but she wasn't about to back down. Eyes the midnight meeting eyes at exactly 10:59 p.m. Karoline arrived at the location, an abandoned airstrip on the outskirts of Washington, D.C. The wind howled through the broken-down hangars. The only light came from a single blacked-out SUV, engine running. Karoline walked forward, heels clicking against the pavement. Then, collision, the SUV door swung open. Collision, a tall figure stepped out, dressed in a long trench coat, face obscured by shadows. But Karoline recognized him instantly. Fire IT was a former high-ranking intelligence officer, a man who was supposedly dead. Fire, she took a step back. "No, that's not possible." The man smirked. "Oh." "Karoline, you have no idea how deep this goes." Collision to be continued. Collision faced screaming in fear. Who is this mysterious figure? Fire, what secrets is he about to reveal? Police Scarlight, is Karoline about to uncover the biggest conspiracy in American history? The wind cut through the night air as Karoline locked eyes with a man who was supposed to be dead. "Explain," she said, standing firm. The figure chuckled, a low, knowing sound. "You were never supposed to get this far." Eyes the secret file eyes, he reached into his coat and pulled out a thick manila folder, wrapped in a red, wax-sealed emblem. Karoline instantly recognized it. Warning, it was the same emblem found on a classified dossier leaked years ago, one that disappeared before it could be exposed to the public. "You're telling me," Karoline said slowly, "that all of this, the judge, the threats, even the rigged trials, was part of something bigger?" The man smirked. "Much bigger." Then he did something shocking. Fire, he tossed a file into a nearby oil drum and set it on fire. "Fire," Karoline gasped. "What are you doing?" "You don't need the paper," the man said, watching the flames rise. "What you need is proof, and I can give it to you, but only if you trust me. High voltage, the unthinkable. Reveal high voltage." Karoline narrowed her eyes. "And why should I trust a ghost?" The man stepped closer. The firelight illuminated his face for the first time. Karoline's blood ran cold. She knew him, not from history books, not from conspiracies. Police Scarlight from her own past. "Police Scarlight, you?" she whispered, voice barely audible. He nodded. "It's been a long time." "Karoline, but we don't have time for reunions. If you want to take down the real puppet master, you'll need to follow me." Karoline swallowed hard. She had one choice. Collision, go with him and risk everything? Collision, or walk away and never uncover the truth? Her heart pounded. Then, police Starlight headlights flashed in the distance. Police Starlight, someone else had found them. Fire to be continued. Fire faced screaming in fear. Who is this mysterious figure from Karoline's past? High voltage, what was in that file? Police Starlight, and who just arrived to silence them both? The final showdown. Fire, the headlights grew brighter. Tires screeching against the pavement. Karoline didn't hesitate. She grabbed the stranger's arm and pulled him into the shadows just as a black SUV skidded to a stop. Police Starlight men in black suits jumped out. Guns drawn. Police Starlight, come out now. Leavitt, we know you're here, one of them barked. Karoline's pulse thundered. This was it. The moment of truth. She turned to the man beside her. Tell me everything. Now! His expression hardened. It's bigger than the judge. Bigger than any courtroom. Fire, the real conspiracy revealed. Fire, they don't want justice. They want control. And they'll do anything to keep their secrets buried. Karoline gritted her teeth. Police Starlight, well, not if she had anything to say about it. Police Starlight collision the escape. Collision with a single nod. She made her decision. No more hiding. She stepped into the light. Looking for me? The agents froze for a split second. Just enough time. Collision boom. A sudden explosion rocked the street as Karoline's allies arrived, taking the agents by surprise. In the chaos, Karoline and the stranger vanished into the night. Microphone, the final twist. Microphone 1 week later. Television breaking news. Judge removed from the bench after shocking corruption allegations. Newspaper mysterious whistleblower leaks classified files. Collision, Karoline Leavitt wins her biggest fight yet. But at what cost? Collision as she watched the headlines roll in. Karoline knew one thing. This was far from over. Fire the end. Or is it? Fire, would you like to start a new wild story? Smirking face rocket.